Hello, and welcome, Silrace here with Star Citizen, and I want to talk about PVPVE, alright? Background footage is whatever it is, I'm gonna try and talk about this particular subject, and I'm going to try to not drag it on for too much, alright? So, let me first clarify what is PVPVE. In most MMORPG these days, like let's take a World of Warcraft example. Everybody knows World of Warcraft. PvP and PvE are separated from each other entirely. You have PvP, player versus player, done in arenas and battlegrounds, and player versus environment PvE is done in dungeons and raids for the most part. And obviously there is questing. Now, PVPVE is really good and workable for sandbox games such as Star Citizen is going to be. The thing is to merge the two into one and well, give reasons to engage in PvP to either gain PvE bonuses or engage PvE to gain PvP bonuses, so to say. And mix those together in one location, one place, essentially. I'll toss you an example here. Aeon fortress fights. In Aeon, you had these massive fortresses where you had a boss, and defeating that boss gave bonuses to your faction. So you had factions in there to fight each other to fight the boss. So essentially you gave the PvP crowd something to do, and you also brought in the PvE players, because the PvE players really wanted to fight these goddamn bosses, and the PvP players wanted to fight each other. And so you get everybody into one area to do the thing, right? Makes sense, right? And I believe if you do this well in a sandboxing type of game, you do this whole incentivizing PvP in certain locations or certain areas alongside with the PvE, you do not have to make massive penalties for example, being bandit and raiding, for example, traders. Because people can still do that, you don't have to do massive penalties for it, but if the rewards for doing something else through the PvP are better, then you will have players naturally gravitating towards that over griefing some poor trader who doesn't have an escort vessel and who is just doing supply runs. Granted, it will obviously still occasionally happen, people will do that, and that should be possible. I have this issue right now with, for example, Black Desert Online. Well, some of the penalties are so massive for griefing and so forth that people are trying to find annoying, workarounds to get around it, to grief other players. Whereas if there was a real incentive for the PvP crowd to fight somewhere else for other resources or some such, they wouldn't need to do all that griefing for their PvP fix, so to say. And I would love to see that. Let me throw an example here. Multiple corporations issue a warrant on a derelict ship. Bam! You can have PvE raiders, like a massive swarm of PvE raiders already trying to scavenge the derelict ship. And then you have the players like, okay, that's paying well, let's go get that. And when you realize that, hey, we are not the only ones who want this ship, and you have PVPVE fight, because you're fighting the raiders, AI-controlled raiders who are already trying to get the ship, and you are fighting the other players for the ship. And when you do this kind of stuff, sprinkle this kind of events and whatnot all over the damn place, you are drawing the PvP crowd into them to fight the other players for their rewards as well. If PvP is rewarding and if PvE is rewarding as well, you don't necessarily separate the two crowds entirely from each other, but you can separate the griefing from the actual PvP, where you give rewards for the PvP, for players to fight each other. Whether that reward is the income for, you know, getting a derelict ship, or whether that reward is something completely else, such as a control over a mining node or over a sector, like chip wars in Rising Force Online, where you had a chip war every 8 hours, and one of the 3 factions which won the chip war gained mining rights, and the other 2 didn't. So you essentially wanted to PvP, so you got your mining rights, so you got better income. That's the thing, though. That's what the message I want to get out there. Hopefully, the developers and designers and creators of Star Citizen, take into account some of these previous games where very good ideas have come out, and build on it. Because you don't have to innovate everything. You can take what others have done and innovate on top of that. I would personally love to see griefing not being punished severely, but instead it not being the main mode of PvP, right? If you give me smaller fleet fights all over the goddamn galaxy, I am going to be there. I am probably not the only one as well who wants that stuff. That will be fun, right? Thank you very, very much for listening, for watching. I'll catch you folks another time with more Star Citizen.